Hello everyone, in this video we are going to review the measures of central tendency. Recall that those are mean, median, and mode. I have video examples of all three of these. I'll drop links for them below in the description. I want to talk about one other term in particular, but just to recap, remember that to calculate your mean, that's the sum of the data items that you have, and that's divided by the total number of data items that you have. So it's going to be a sum, and you're dividing that by a total number of data items that you have in a set. Remember that calculating a median, that's the middle value in the set when the numbers are arranged in order from smallest to largest. And if you ever have an even number of data items, you're just going to find the average of those two middle data values, whatever they may be. For your mode, that is the data item that occurs the most often, or the most amount of times. It is possible for a data set to have no mode, one mode, and sometimes on rare occasions there's more than one mode. So this is all a review, but one term I want to talk about in particular is this. An outlier. Now, first of all, we can use the mean to describe the middle of a set of data that does not have an outlier. But what is an outlier? An outlier is a data value that is much higher or lower than the other data values in the set. In statistics, you do a more descriptive and specific definition of finding an outlier, but for simplicity purposes, if you're ever given a certain number of data values and you have some numbers or one number in particular that in some cases could be super low or super higher than the majority of your data values, those would be considered outliers. We can use the median to describe the middle of a set of data that does have an outlier. This particular outlier, outliers, because sometimes there could be more than one, can change the calculation for a mean. We can use the mean to describe the middle of a set of data that does not have an outlier. And remember that the mean is often referred to as the average. We can also use the mode when the data are non-numeric or when choosing the most popular item. But for this video in particular, I want to work out these kinds of problems. These tend to pop up quite often, and I want us to calculate this together. So let's suppose that our grades on 3 math exams respectively are 80, 93, and 91. What grade do we need on our next exam to have a 90 average on the 4 exams? So we are going to use the mean calculation, but we're going to use a slight modification of it because we already have the mean. We want to have a 90 average. We now know that there will be 4 exams in total, so that's the total number of data values. And we know 3 of those 4 values, and those 3 values are right here. Set up an equation and solve. 80 plus 93 plus 91 plus our unknown value, which means that we need to have some number. When all this is added up and divided by 4, we want to have an average of 90. So whatever this value is will determine if we get that 90 average. Let's find that number. First thing we'll do is multiply each side by 4 to cancel out that denominator. Before we do that though, I'm going to actually add these numbers up top. Bring this down just a bit. 80 plus 93 plus 91 gives us a total of 264 plus x. I'll go ahead and multiply by 4 at the same time. 4 here and multiply by 4 here. So 264 plus x gives me a total of 360. Take away 264 on both sides. I'll write that up here. This cancels out, and we have 96. So this means we need to have a grade of 96 on our 4th exam in order to have an average of 90. And even though this is a small example, if I was to say what would be an outlier per se, because I only have 3 data values, 91 and 93 are really close to each other. Since 80 is really far away from the closest value here, which in this case would be 91, we could say that 80 is an outlier here because it's relatively smaller compared to the other 2 data values here. Just a small example, but for the sake of this problem, we were just looking for that particular grade on that 4th exam, and that'd be 96. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later.